lines well enough for me to keep demoing on this?
I mean, some of them I can see fine. It's just some of them are kind of iffy, but
Okay,
that's my opinion.
let's
Yeah.
try, and I'll try to draw, darker, and hopefully that'll work. So, um, what I would say is I feel like I have objects that are kind of happening on the same, kind of in the same space. Does that make sense? Like there's things coming forward, and actually breaking the edge of the composition really makes it feel like it's coming forward. And I'll just remind you guys that you did have the opportunity to include a border in your piece. So you could, if this is the boundary of your paper, you could potentially, add a border right here and then have some things that you allow to go, to go maybe behind the border, and other things that you allow to actually go, off and break the border and occur off the page. So that can be a really fun little effect to play with. The other thing is, like, let's say you're drawing and you say, oh, but I really like what I did right here. I want to keep it. Well, do you remember how I told you guys about, things being proportional? So as long as you keep with this same diagonal, you'd be able to extend the piece a little bigger to where you include, as long as you use a right angle, and make sure that it's truly square, you would be able to just enlarge this a little bit and include some of what, was previously going off of the page. Okay. Oh, you couldn't see my line there. But, that extends it, but it's still a proportional sketch. Anyway, okay, so let's make something that feels like it's behind these, and something that feels like it's much more in front of these. So to do something in front, sometimes it's a little hard to visualize. This is part of why I really love having more paper rather than less to work with. The best way to make something feel like it's in front is to make it much bigger than everything that's already there, and to make it overlap something that's already there. So without considering design too much, just in order to kind of show you guys that how that might work, I want to get rid of this line because it is a little distracting. I want to draw a larger object for you. So the way you might make it feel like something is way in front of this, let's do a really big but kind of skinny object that's gonna go through the page. So we always have to start with a vertical edge. I think I'll do it here. I'll stick with the same vanishing points just so I don't, take up too much time changing them. Now this object, just to be clear, is going to go way off the page. So I'm going to draw a line to each vanishing point. If this is really just going to kind of continue off the page forever, I don't actually need to draw that. If I want a little remnant of the object to sort, like a corner of the object to come in, I would need to end it a little lower. So maybe I'll do that just so you guys can see how that would work. So I think I'll do this about this wide on this side. You saw me already sort of pre-planning that. And maybe I'll just let it go off the page on this side. A big part of explaining this more is going to be the way I shade it and the way I explain that. As I look at these two objects, I feel like they still feel about the same width. So if maybe I didn't achieve quite what I wanted to achieve, like this still doesn't feel quite big enough to sort of swallow up this object, even if I do some erasing and, you know, show that this is, yeah, this really is the object that's on top. Maybe I still want it to appear a little bigger than what I originally planned. So I think I'm going to extend this where it goes off the page. Basically how thick it is right now, I want it to be thicker. I'm going to just have it go off the page completely. So maybe not the whole thing, but maybe up to like here, I'm going to add on even a little bit more. So it's going to have almost that like L shape, if that makes sense. I'm going to let this object just keep going off the page. But if you're somebody who like needs an answer of what was really happening out there, I'll end it for you so you can see what shape I'm visualizing, even though that is not going to be seen in the drawing. So if I erase these lines, do you see how it looks? Now it's really feeling big and like it's coming, hopefully you're seeing, it looks like it's coming in front of this other form. I mean, that's getting to be a really big shape in the piece. If you want it to look even bigger, and now I don't think this is compositionally the right choice, the only other way you can make it look bigger and closer to you is to actually put it lower on the paper, and that will always feel like it's just coming closer to you because we're on the ground. I think it's a psychological thing. Anyway, if something's really high in the air, it's always going to feel farther away, but as it's lower, it's just going to feel closer and lower down. So I could extend this even more down where this goes off the page. So again, if you're somebody who still wants me to finish it, just so you know what kind of shape that would be, it would be this kind of shape, right? It would be making this shape even bigger.
I have a question to ask.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't it be harder to find the primary and secondary and tertiary spaces doing it this size?
Yeah, that's why I said compositionally, this may not serve me, but I want to show you how big things can be. But you could still totally have it. So this could be the large space. This could be the medium space, and this could be the small space. And I might need a little bigger, I might need it to be a little bigger, but that could be the small space, And if you're filling the page enough that there's not a bunch of other little tiny spaces, then you could have achieved that. Or even, this could wind up being the small space, although I think this is the better one.
But how could you fit 7 boxes? There's only like 4.
So that would bring me to the other thing I was going to demonstrate, which will be the smaller boxes and showing things being further away in space. So let me do that now. If I know I'm down to like the last 5 minutes, but I don't think we have anything else we really have to cover. I think this is probably the most important thing. So, maybe I like this effect that I'm doing of, these objects turning in space, but I want to create it again, maybe just farther away this time and smaller. So it's back further in space. If I draw it smaller, it will feel, and as long as I don't do anything in painting and shading to really ruin that, it will feel like it is further back and deeper in space. So let's say I wanted to draw, some objects that kind of came in right here. So now that I'm not doing huge objects, I'll switch to my little thing here. So maybe I'll start the first object actually off the page. And I'm going to do it. I love doing things too big. I'm going to do it a little smaller. Turns out I do still need the big ruler to reach the points.
Mommy, the sound isn't turning off.
The sound isn't turning on?
Yeah. This is I'm not figured out. But she didn't figure out.
Oh, she didn't figure it out?
Yeah.
What to do about that, Eva? I'm almost done. No, Grandma's not as tech savvy as Mommy is.
Mama, how do you do it? Mommy, how do you do it?
Well, you need to change the input to audio 1. Can you go tell Grandma that?
What is that?
Um,
Racing car.
Ava, can you please go upstairs?
What is this, Mommy?
Oh, actually, I erased the wrong part here, guys. So here's so here would be, this object that's bigger
What is this, Mommy?
being in the foreground.
What is this?
Ava, I'll tell you when it's okay to talk again. It's not okay to talk right now.
Mommy, what is
Shh. So do you see how this one is sort of going behind or underneath, and it's smaller? I'll draw one more. It'll be more exposed than the last one was. I'll draw it a little higher up. Maybe right here.
Mommy, what is this?
She's coming in here and finding all her Christmas presents. I thought I had everything hidden, but I guess not. Actually, let's make it smaller. Closer we get to the horizon line, it's really difficult to line the angles up just right. So if you're seeing some discrepancy here, you're correct. Something didn't line up quite right as I was using the ruler. So do you see how these objects are going behind some of these other ones and they're smaller? Can you imagine if I went, even smaller still, how far back they would feel like they were? Imagine if I draw one more, and I'm freehanding it, so no judgment zone here, but do you see how an even smaller one, how they just start to go back and back in space? Line variation is huge for this though. Watch how when I make these lines thinner, where you can kind of barely see it, how that disappears back farther. And watch how when I, and I know class is over, you guys can go if you want, but watch how as I make these lines just a little thicker. Now you have to have 2 new sketches for Tuesday. And hopefully they meet all of these criteria. Okay, so I'm just going to pull away. Do you see how, this really feels like it's on top and in front, and, things seem to go back, in space as those other lines get eliminated. So, oh, that's actually not supposed to be a line. So anyway, do you guys have any other questions? I know some of you stuck around, some of you had to go, but did that make sense at least a little bit? Okay. All right. Well, guys, I'll see you Tuesday. Have a good weekend and show me some great sketches. I'll open up a new folder for it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.